Yata. Alright, Madhurya Lil, I'll have to read the English today because there's people here. Translation: One who always sees all living entities as spiritual sparks, in quality one with the Lord, becomes a true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him?
Перевод. Тот, кто всегда видит все живые
今日讀呢個至尊奧義書第7個詩節。一個人經常咧係睇到所有嘅生物體咧係呢個靈性嘅火花啦，同至尊主咧個品質係一樣嘅，同埋佢咧就係真正一個能夠睇到事物嘅人。咁對佢嚟講，邊度仲有呢個憂慮啦，同埋呢個假象咧
This is going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem because she's giving Russian translation. I think you have to sit over there. Do you have to use a microphone? Is it?
So no microphone.
Is it?
表堂唔播咯，淨係 Facebook，唔會騷擾佢嗰個聲。So no microphone. Okay.
Purport. Except for the Madhyama Adhikari and Uttama Adhikari discussed above, no one can correctly see the spiritual position of a living being. The living entities are qualitatively one with the Supreme Lord, just as the sparks of a fire are qualitatively one with the fire. Yet sparks are not fire as far as quantity is concerned. For the quantity of heat and light present in the sparks is not equal to that in fire. The Mahabhagavat, the great devotee, sees oneness in the sense that he sees everything as the energy of the Supreme Lord. Since there is no difference between the energy and the energetic, there is a sense of oneness. Although from the analytical point of view, heat and light are different from fire, there is no meaning to the word fire without heat and light. In synthesis, therefore, heat, light, and fire are the same.
要旨除了前面述過的中級奉獻者 Madhyam Adhikari 同埋高階奉獻者 Uttama Adhikari，沒有人能正確地看清一個生物的靈性地位和狀態。正如大火中迸發出嘅火星，生物與至尊主在質上一樣，但從量上看，火星並不是大火，因為火星所散發出嘅光同埋熱不同於大火產生嘅光同熱。偉大嘅奉獻者Mahabhagavata睇到一切都係至尊主嘅能量，係從呢個角度睇到一體性同一性。能量同埋能量嘅擁有者兩者之間冇區別，因此有一體性同一性嘅概念。儘管從呢個分析角度嚟睇，熱同光有別於火，但沒有光同熱，火呢個詞亦都冇意思，所以綜合地講，光熱同火係一樣。
So Srila Prabhupada is explaining to us that this mantra is to help us to understand the spiritual position of the living entity.
呢個 mantra 咧就係聖巴巴解釋俾我哋聽咧，就係生物體同佢嗰個靈性嗰個身份。
The living entity is one in quality with the Lord, but different in quantity.
生物體嘅品質上同主一樣嘅，只不過嗰個大小嗰個量唔同嘅啫。
And the living entity is compared to the spark, and the Supreme Lord is like the fire.
生物體就好似火花咁， 而呢個嘅至尊主呢，就好似呢係一個大火球。
So the spark and the fire have similar qualities, but different in quantity.
火花同大火球呢個品質係一樣嘅，但係嗰個量又唔同，光同熱都唔同。
Одни качества, но разный объем.
So then Prabhupada talks about the Mahabhagavata's vision, how he sees everything as the energy of the Supreme Lord.
巴巴亦都解得一個偉大靈魂呢，馬哈巴格塔呢，佢睇一切都係神嘅能量。
Видит все как энергию Верховного Господа.
So the Lord is the energetic, and the living entities are the energy.
至尊主呢，佢係能量嘅擁有人啦，而呢個嘅生物體呢，佢就係呢啲能量。
So they're the same, but at the same time they're different.
所以與此同時係一樣嘢，與此同時都係唔同嘅。
Одно и то же время и одинаковые и отличны друг от друга.
So the living entity and the Lord are both spiritual beings, but there's a big difference between the living entity and the Lord.
所以咧，生物體咧同埋至尊主咧都係生物，都係一個靈性嘅，但係佢哋咧係亦都有唔同。
Но между ними есть огромная разница.
Right? I'll read the next paragraph.
我哋讀下一段。
In this mantra, the words ekatvam anupashyataha indicate that one should see the unity of all living entities from the viewpoint of the revealed scriptures. The individual sparks of the Supreme Whole, the Lord, possess almost 80% of the known qualities of the whole, but they are not quantitatively equal to the Supreme Lord. These qualities are present in minute quantity, for the living entity is but a minute part and parcel of the Supreme Whole. To use another example, the quantity of salt present in a drop is never comparable to the quantity of salt present in the ocean, but the salt present in the drop is qualitatively equal in chemical composition to all the salt present in the ocean. If the individual living being were equal to the Supreme Lord, both qualitatively and quantitatively, there would be no question of his being under the influence of the material energy. In the previous mantra, it has already been discussed that no living being, not even the powerful demigods, can surpass the Supreme Being in any respect. Therefore, ekatvam does not mean that a living being is equal in all respect to the Supreme Lord. It does, however, indicate that in a broader sense there is one interest. Just as in a family the interest of all members is one, or in a nation the national interest is one, although there are many different individual citizens. Since the living entities are all members of the same Supreme Family, their interest in that of the Supreme Being are not different. Every living being is the son of the Supreme Being, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita. All living creatures throughout the universe, including birds, reptiles, ants, aquatics, trees, and so on, are emanations of the marginal potency of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, all of them belong to the family of the Supreme Being. There is no clash of interest.
呢節詩中呢 ，Ekam Anupashyanta 一句呢係表明，我哋應該從啟示嘅經典嘅角度呢， 去睇眾生嘅一體性。至尊嘅整體，即係至尊主啦，散發出個體嘅火花，幾乎擁有呢係整個80%嘅品質，但喺量上同至尊主係有住天淵之別。個體嘅生物係至尊整體所屬嘅極少嘅一部分，所以擁有呢啲品質亦都好少嘅。用一個比喻嚟講，就係一滴嘅海水嘅含鹽量呢，永遠唔能夠同呢個整個汪洋嘅含鹽量呢係相提並論嘅。但係一滴水裏邊嘅化學成分同整個汪洋嘅鹽嘅化學成分係一樣嘅。個體生物如果喺量同埋質上呢都同至尊主一樣嘅話呢，個體嘅靈魂就不受制於呢個物質能量嘅影響啦。前一節嘅詩文中亦都說咗，如果冇嗰個生物，哪怕嗰個強大有力嘅半神人，有可能喺任何一方面呢係超過呢係至尊生物嘅。因此呢，詩文中呢，梵文 ekabam 一字呢嘅意思就話，並非係生物所有方面都等於至尊主。然而佢喺更廣泛嘅意義嘅就係表明呢個體生物同至尊主有住共同嘅利益。呢一點呢，就好似個家庭裏邊嘅成員同一個國家嘅國民，儘管有好多唔同嘅成員啦，但係利益都係一樣嘅。既然生物係同一個至高無上家庭中嘅成員，都係至尊主嘅仔女，咁樣佢哋嘅利益同至尊生物嘅利益係一樣嘅。不過梵歌喺第7章呢第5節中講，宇宙中所有嘅生物，包括飛鳥啊、爬蟲啊、螞蟻啊、水生物啊、樹木啊，都係至尊主嘅邊際能量所散發出嚟嘅，因此佢哋全部都係屬於至尊主生物大家庭，彼此冇相抵觸嘅利益。
Alright, so Prabhupada is explaining to us how the living entities do not have all the qualities of the Supreme Lord, but they can have up to 80%.
佢而家又翻譯俾呢個 Russia， 所以又要收唔到我音。
But although they may have the qualities like the Lord, they don't have them in the same quantity.
呢度講呢就係
The Lord has infinite quantity. The living entities have a very small quantity.
量呢同質嘅分別啦，生物體呢，佢嘅量呢係好少嘅啫，而至尊主嘅量係好大嘅，咁所以生物體質上係同至尊主一樣嘅。
And then we're given the example about salt in the water, in the ocean. There's salt water, so you take one drop from the ocean, it has some salt, has same qualities as the ocean.
個例子呢就係啲鹽分啊，海水嘅鹽分呢同呢個一滴水呢，海水呢都係一樣嘅鹽分嗰個量嗰個分析，但係個量就唔同。
Такая же соль, как и во всем океане, но в очень маленьком количестве.
And then we're told also that the living entities are all like members of the same family. And the Lord is the Father, and all the living entities are the children of the Lord.
另一個解釋呢，嗰個比喻呢，就係好似個大家庭，至尊主好似係爸爸媽媽啦，咁而呢啲嘅生物體就好似仔女。
And we should have the common interest, just like in a family. All the members of the family are concerned for the welfare of the family. So the same way all the living entities should be concerned for the welfare of other living entities.
就好似呢喺個家庭成員呢，佢哋會共同呢為家庭嘅利益着想啊。咁同樣嚟講，生物體同至尊主呢，佢哋利益都係一樣。
And this includes all living entities, even the birds and the insects and the fish and the trees. They're all different kinds of living entities.
咁生物體意味住呢係所有生物體，包括飛鳥啊、爬蟲、走獸、螞蟻啊等等各類嘅生物體。
деревья и так далее.
So we want to see the oneness in that sense, that everyone is part of the one family.
所以我哋睇到呢一體性啊，大家家庭裏邊無論大細咧，佢哋都係有個共同利益一體性。
So when we have the common interest, then people can live together peacefully and happily.
如果我哋有共同利益嘅話咧，咁大家就會好和平共處啊。
Люди могут жить счастливо и в мире.
But if everyone has their own separate interests, everyone is an individual and they think of their own interests and don't care about others, then they will create a lot of problems.
但係如果大家生活喺一齊，大家各顧各，大家都唔理對方，或者大家自私嘅話咧，咁就好大問題啦。
I was explaining to one devotee about how the family, the family interests are common for everyone.
我之前解釋咧，就係話一個家庭裏邊咧，佢哋嘅利益咧係大家共同嘅，大家都係為個家庭嘅。
We're all the marginal potency of the Supreme Lord.
我哋每一位咧都係至尊主嘅邊際能量。
So we have that free will. We can choose where we want to live. We want to live with the Lord, or we want to be separate from Him.
所以我有自由意願啦，我哋係有想同主一齊生活啦，定係分開生活？
So if we live in Krishna consciousness, then everyone can work together and cooperate together.
如果我哋生活喺 Krishna 知覺底下咧，咁我哋就可以互相合作咧，互相就係照顧啦。
We put Krishna in the center. We don't put anybody else in. We don't put our own self in the center. We keep Krishna in the center, and Krishna's in the center for everyone.
我哋大家生活嘅時候，將 Krishna 咧擺落我哋嘅思想嘅中心，唔係擺其他人。
So this very important point, which we often speak about, but to actually apply this in our life is very difficult because we're so selfish.
但係因為我哋個個都好自私啊，所以講係容易，做就難。
Но когда доходит дело до практики, чтобы применить это в своей жизни, это становится очень сложно, потому что мы все очень эгоистичны.
We'll read more.
我哋讀落去啊。
The spiritual entities are meant for enjoyment, as stated in the Vedanta Sutra, Anandamaya Vyasat. By nature and constitution, every living being, including the Supreme Lord, and each of his parts and parcels, is meant for eternal enjoyment. The living beings who are engaged in the material tabernacle are constantly seeking enjoyment, but they are seeking it on the wrong platform. Apart from the material platform is the spiritual platform, where the Supreme Being enjoys himself with his innumerable associates. On that platform, there is no trace of material qualities, and therefore that platform is called Nirguna. On the Nirguna platform, there is never a clash over the object of enjoyment. Here in the material world, there is always a clash between different individual beings, because here the proper center of enjoyment is missed. The real center of enjoyment is the Supreme Lord, who is the center of the sublime and spiritual rasa dance. We are all meant to join him and enjoy life with one transcendental interest and without any clash. That is the highest platform of spiritual interest. And as soon as one realizes this perfect form of oneness, there can be no question of illusion or lamentation.
正如維丹達第1章第1篇第12個詩節講啦，靈性生物嚟講其實係為咗享樂嘅。Ananda Mayopia Sat 係一個生物體，包括至尊主同埋佢嘅每一個微小部分，都係為咗永恆嘅享樂而存在嘅。被囚禁喺物質軀體中嗰啲生物一直都喺度尋找快樂，但係卻喺錯誤地嘅層面嗰度尋找存在嘅。除咗係物質層面裏邊有靈性嘅層面，喺嗰度之上面呢，至尊嘅生物體同佢無數嘅同伴呢，享受住佢自己，但係嗰個層面呢係冇絲毫物質嘅成分嘅，因此被稱為呢一觀啊。喺呢一觀嘅層面之上呢，生物從來呢都唔會因為渴望同一個享受對象而發生衝突嘅。喺呢個物質世界裏邊呢，由於享樂嘅真正嘅中心失去咗，不同嘅個體嘅靈魂之間呢就會有衝突啦。享樂嘅真正嘅中心就係至尊主，佢嘅崇高嘅靈性 rasa 嘅舞蹈呢係核心人物，所以所有嘅生物體呢都係與佢連接啦，帶住同佢一致嘅超然嘅興趣呢，享受呢個生活，冇抵觸同埋衝突。呢個就係最高層次嘅靈性嘅興趣嘅利益。人一旦認識到呢個完美嘅一騰性呢，就不可能有錯覺同埋悲傷啦。
So Srila Prabhupada is explaining to us the nature of material life, how we're trying to enjoy, everyone's trying to enjoy them for themselves.
物質生涯就係咁噶啦，個個都係諗住自己去享受。
Объясняет природу материальной жизни, что здесь каждое живое существо пытается наслаждаться независимо.
So the problem is that we are trying to enjoy the body instead of the soul.
個問題呢就係我哋去享受呢個身體，唔係享受個靈魂。
So you try to enjoy the body, you'll never be successful for very long.
你享受身體嘅時候呢，你唔會享受得好耐嘅。
So we have to come to the spiritual platform. We have to come up to that spiritual platform by having Krishna in the center.
所以我哋要提升自己去到個靈性嘅層面啦，以 Krishna 為中心。
On the material platform, we think of the body and the body's activities: eating, sleeping, mating, defending.
喺物質層面呢，我哋諗住嘅享樂呢，就係飲食、睡眠、防衛、交配。
Об удовлетворении потребностей своего тела и телесных наслаждений, еда, сон, совокупление и оборона.
So those things are also done on the spiritual platform, but the difference is they're done in Krishna consciousness.
呢啲活動呢，我哋奉獻者都做嘅，不過呢，就喺 Krishna 知覺之中呢去做。
Эти потребности есть и на духовном уровне, но там это происходит по-другому и с Верховным Господом, поставленным в центр.
Devotee will still eat, but he will eat prasadam. He will eat food offered to Krishna.
奉獻者都食嘢嘅，但係佢會食 prasadam 啦，佢會食一啲供奉過 Krishna 嘅嘢。
The devotee will sleep because he has to use his body for the service of Krishna.
奉獻者都要瞓覺嘅，因為佢好好養好身體啦，嚟到服務 Krishna。
And the devotee will defend what is Krishna's property, so he can use it for Krishna's service.
Krishna 奉獻者呢亦都會係做一啲防衛啦，佢要為 Krishna 保護啲財產啦。
And the devotee can mate to produce Krishna conscious children.
奉獻者亦都可以呢生產呢具有 Krishna 知覺嘅兒女嘅。
So the activities are done on the spiritual platform. Not that we stop all activities, but we change the consciousness in which we perform the activity.
所以呢啲嘅活動，奉獻者都做嘅，不過呢就唔喺物質層面啊，佢喺 Krishna 知覺嘅層面去做。
So the devotee can experience spiritual pleasure, not just some material pleasure.
奉獻者佢經驗呢就係靈性嘅喜樂啊，唔係單單物質嘅。
испытывать духовное наслаждение, а не только материальное.
A devotee is very conscious to utilize everything for Krishna.
奉獻者佢意識知覺好高嘅，佢利用一切咧嚟到服務 Krishna。
Все задействовать в сознании Кришны.
In the same way, the materialist is very conscious to utilize everything for his sense gratification.
反之咧，物質主義者咧，佢亦都好知覺住喎，但係佢利用一切咧嚟到服務自己。
Для того, чтобы испытать материальное наслаждение.
So that the idea of oneness is there in the sense of oneness in service to Krishna.
所以我哋都有一個一體性嘅合一嘅感覺嘅，不過咧就係利用一切嘢嚟服務 Krishna。
Когда мы все задействуем в служении Кришне.
So Srila Prabhupada continues, a godless civilization arises from illusion, and the result of such a civilization is lamentation. A godless civilization such as that sponsored by the modern politicians is always full of anxieties because it may be crushed at any moment. This is the law of nature. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, no one but those who surrender at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord can surpass the stringent laws of nature. Thus, if we wish to get rid of all sorts of illusion and anxiety and create unity out of all diverse interests, we must bring God into all our activities.
帕巴繼續講啦，不信神嘅文明由呢個錯覺導致嘅，呢種文明嘅結果就係人人都好悲傷。由現代嘅政治家發起嘅不信神嘅文明呢，因為有可能隨時被毀滅啊，所以總係令人充滿憂慮、焦慮嘅。呢個就係自然法律啦。《波迦梵歌》第7章14節講啦，只有歸依喺至於主嘅奉獻者嘅人，先至可以戰勝自然定律嘅力量。因此，如果我們想要咧擺脱所有種類嘅錯覺同埋焦慮咧，將各種不相信嘅興趣同埋利益導向一致咧，我哋就要必須將神咧帶入我哋嘅一切活動。
So the people today are very godless. They don't like to hear about God. They don't like to hear about religion. They like to encourage atheism.
啲無神論者咧，佢哋唔中意聽神嘅，佢哋就係想無神論嘅。
Связано с Богом или религией. Таким образом, они очень атеистичны.
And if they do believe in God, they think of the God in terms of their own identity. They think they have a Russian God, or there's the Americans think they have an American God. The African people, they have the African God.
就算佢哋信神啦，佢哋對神嘅觀念都係錯嘅。美國人以為有美國神啦，印度人以為有印度神啦。
So godless civilization is a sign of the Kali Yuga. And we're trying to bring God into the society, into the civilization. We want to change the face of the planet.
所以咧，呢個卡利年代咧，啲人就係無神論嘅。我哋嘅使命咧就係將呢個文化改變啊，變成有神論。
Because the civilization is godless, so there's so much anxiety at every moment. There are so many problems.
呢個無神論嘅文明啊、文化就引致好多焦慮啊、好多嘅問題嘅。
So how to stop this godless civilization? Srila Prabhupada refers us to the Bhagavad Gita.
點樣去阻止呢個文化呢？《波迦梵歌》第7章啪啪咁講。
There, Lord Krishna says, "Just surrender unto me." Daivihe gunamayi mama maya duradyaya mameva ye prapadyante mayamitam tarantite The material nature is very difficult to overcome. But if we surrender to Krishna, we can easily cross beyond it.
呢個詩節呢，第7章第14個詩節係講呢，物質自然呢一個力量好強橫嘅，只有係歸依啦、臣服啦、至尊主嘅蓮花足嘅人呢，先至可以對抗嘅。
All right, we'll read some more. The results of our activities must be used to serve the interests of the Lord, and not for any other purpose. Only by serving the Lord's interest can we perceive the Atma-bhuta interest mentioned herein. The Atma-bhuta interest mentioned in this mantra and the Brahma-bhuta interest mentioned in Bhagavad Gita are one and the same. The Supreme Atma or Soul is the Lord Himself, and the minute Atma is a living entity. The Supreme Atma or Paramatma alone maintains all the individual minute beings. For the Supreme Lord wants to derive pleasure out of their affection. The Father extends Himself through His children and maintains them in order to derive pleasure. If the children obey the Father's will, family affairs will run smoothly with one interest and a pleasing atmosphere. The same situation is transcendentally arranged in the absolute family of the Para-Brahman, the Supreme Spirit.
我哋讀落去啦，我哋必須用活動嘅結果咧去取悅至尊主嘅，而不是其他目的嘅。只有讓至尊主滿意咧，我哋先能夠明白呢個詩節中裏邊講嘅靈性存在 Atma-bhuta 嘅利益。喺呢節詩談到靈性嘅存在嘅利益，喺博家梵歌第18章54個詩節，與絕對真理合一 Brahma-bhuta 嘅利益係一樣嘅。至高無上嘅靈魂 Atma 就係至尊主本人。微小嘅靈魂就係個別生物體，至高無上嘅靈魂超靈 Paramatma 獨自一個維繫住所有微小嘅靈魂，因為至尊主想從佢哋嘅感情中攝取快樂。父親透過自己嘅孩子申言自己，係為咗享受天倫之樂而養育佢哋。如果孩子們孝順順從呢父親嘅意願，家庭事務就會順利進行，大家嘅興趣利益都係一致，家庭氣氛就會係好愉快。同樣道理，喺至尊靈魂 Paramatma 嘅大家庭裏邊呢，所做嘅一切超然安排都係一樣。
То же самое трансцендентным образом происходит в Брахмане, в абсолютной семье Пара-Брахмана, высшего духа.
So Prabhupada is quoting the Bhagavad Gita in the 18th chapter. Krishna is saying that one who has come to the platform of Brahman, then he's a joyful soul.
咁泡引咗18章54個詩節咧，就係話一個人咧嚟到呢個梵國嘅時候咧，佢就會好快樂噶啦。Brahma-bhuta。
The platform. Yes. Yes. What? You lost Madhurya Lila?
Yes. Okay. Now it's okay.
Okay. All right. So the platform of Brahman means to understand we're not the body, with understanding that we're part of the Supreme Lord.
梵嘅層面就意思即係話我哋係生物體啦，我哋係靈魂啦，我哋同至尊主有關係。
So the relationship between the Lord and the living entities is like that between the Father and the children.
我哋同至尊主嘅關係就好似咧係父子嘅關係。
Харе Кришна. Не слышно сейчас? Вот не было слышно и предыдущего фразы вот про Брахма-бхуту
тоже мы там до конца не услышали, вы пропали.
Вот так, а что ж делать мне?
Да, ну вот сейчас хорошо слышно, сейчас говорите.
Так, сейчас надо еще вспомнить, что...
А там Гурудев сказал, что тот, кто на уровне Брахмабуды, тот является счастливой душой.
Да, это была первая мысль, да. Вторая мысль, что выйти на уровень Брахмана, это обозначает понять, что я не тело, и понять, что я являюсь частичкой Верховного Господа.
So Prabhupada describes how in the family it's important for the children to cooperate with the father.
巴巴解釋咧，一個家庭裏邊咧，你個仔女要同爸爸媽媽合作咧，好重要嘅。
Что в семье очень важно.
Так, опять меня не слышно, пропадаю?
Ага. Вот сейчас говорите.
Слышно было, посмотрите, вы в микрофоне выключили, и вас тоже было слышно.
Так, здесь Прабхупада объясняет, насколько важно членам семьи сотрудничать с отцом, выполнять его волю.
So in the same way, on the absolute platform, it's important for all the living entities to cooperate with the laws of the Supreme Lord.
喺絕對嘅層面嚟講咧，靈魂咧同呢個至尊靈魂咧係合作，亦都好重要。
Подчиняться воле Господа и сотрудничать с ним.
Of course, we have to know what is the desire of the Supreme Lord, and then we have to cooperate with that.
咁點樣合作咧？就係首先你要知道至尊靈魂嘅利益啊，佢嘅興趣喺邊度啦。
All right, we'll just read the last paragraph here. The Parabrahman is as much a person as the individual living entities. Neither the Lord nor the living entities are impersonal. Such transcendental personalities are full of transcendental bliss, knowledge, and life eternally. That is the real position of spiritual existence. And as soon as one is fully cognizant of this transcendental position, he at once surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Being, Sri Krishna. But such a Mahatma or great soul is very rarely seen, because such transcendental realization is achieved only after many, many births. Once it is attained, however, there is no longer any illusion or lamentation, or the miseries of material existence, or birth and death, which are all experienced in our present life. This is the information we get from this mantra of Sri Isopanishad.
我哋續最後一段，至尊靈魂咧就好似普通嘅靈魂，都係一個人嚟嘅。至尊主咧同生物都唔係不具有人格特徵嘅，係呢個超然嘅人物，充滿咗超然嘅極樂啦、知識啦、永恆嘅生命。呢個就係靈性存在嘅真實嘅狀態。人一旦完全認識到呢個超然嘅狀態，就會立即歸依投靠或者係臣服至尊生物聖主 Krishna 嘅蓮花足。但呢個咁樣嘅偉大靈魂 Mahatma 係好罕有嘅，因為呢個超然嘅覺悟只有經歷過好多生世之後先至得到嘅。然而一旦得到嗰個超然嘅覺悟，就再冇錯覺啦、悲傷啦、物質嘅存在嘅痛苦啦、生死啦等等咧，喺我哋而家生活嘅經驗嘅一切，呢個就係我哋從至尊奧義書呢個師節得到嘅訊息。
So we have to understand the significance of this relationship between the living entity and the Lord.
我哋要明白咧，梵靈咧同埋呢個至尊主咧嗰個嘅關係。
So one common misunderstanding is people think that the Supreme is just simply energy.
一般人錯嘅了解就係以為咧係神咧就係得能量嘅啫。
По которому люди думают, что верховное существо это просто энергия.
We had one young lady coming here the other day. She was sitting in front of the deities and doing silent meditation. And so I asked her, "What are you doing?" She said, "I just want to feel the energy."
咁有個女士咧嚟到呢度咧喺神像面前喺度冥想啦。我問佢做乜，佢話我要感受下神嘅能量啊。
Безмолвно медитировать. Я спросила ее, что вы делаете. Она ответила, я хочу почувствовать энергию.
So I asked her, "Where is the energy coming from?"
咁我
She
問佢
said,
啦，
"From Krishna."
我問嗰啲能量邊度嚟㗎？
Я спросила ее, откуда
Krishna
исходит
嚟嘅。
энергия. Она ответила, от Кришны.
And so I told her, "Yes, you're right." I said, "Now you should chant Hare Krishna. You know everything's coming from Krishna, so you should chant the name of Krishna."
我話你講得啱啊，係由 Krishna 嗰度嚟，咁所以你應該念 Hare Krishna 啦。
И я сказал, раз вы понимаете, что
要
энергия
認識 Krishna 咧，就唔係淨係佢嘅能量。
тогда нужно повторять его святое имя, повторять Харе Кришна.
So Prabhupada is referring to the verse in the Bhagavad Gita, how people, by the path of knowledge, then they come to understand also the Supreme.
咁拋解釋咧，博家梵哥講咧，一個人如果佢係學習知識嘅話咧，佢會知道咧，最終嚟講係至尊人格守神嘅。
Обретение знания, люди в конце концов обретают. Could you repeat it, please?
But Srila Prabhupada is paraphrasing the verse from the Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna says, by the path of knowledge, one can come to understand the Supreme.
再講一次咧，拋解釋咧喺博家梵歌裏邊咧，如果我哋去收集呢個知識嘅路途嘅話咧，咁會了解到咧係至尊人格守神。
But this path takes many, many births. It's a very slow path.
但係呢個知識之途啊，同知識嘅途徑嘅話咧，係要好多生世嘅。
And it's also very rare that anyone ever comes to the perfection of that knowledge.
同埋都係好艱難嘅，唔係好多人可以達到嘅呢個境界，呢個覺悟。
So we're encouraged that if you simply take to the path of devotion, you can immediately understand the Supreme.
所以我哋嘅建議咧就係話，你不如唔好行呢條路啦，你行呢個奉愛嘅路啦，你好快又覺悟到至尊主嘅啦。
And then there will be no problem, no illusion, no anxiety.
咁之後咧，你會發覺咧好多問題都解決啦，好似煩惱啊、痛苦啊。
All right, so we'll stop here. Now we'll ask if there's some questions.
我哋講到呢度有冇問題？
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, we have some questions from last class, from three devotees. Yes, from Abhay Charan Prabhu, from Platini Mataji, and one question in the chat.
Oh.
Madhuri Lila Mataji, can you see questions in the chat, or should I read for you?
Я уже разобралась, так как
Хорошо.
заходить, да.
Окей.
Только с чего начать?
Прочитайте их по-русски, там Абhay Charan, по-моему, первый написал.
Суд первого сегодня, да, здесь?
Да.
Ага. Так, зачитать по-русски и потом по-английски, да?
Да.
Харе Кришна, Гуру Махарадж, примите мои поклоны, Шримад Бхагаватам 5.19, 5.19, 29 и 30 стихи. Перевод. Шри Шрабхадева Госвами сказал: «О царь, так, а вы можете ли пока найти этот стих, как он звучит? У вас там под рукой? Видабайс? Иватишачи Маттаджи». Перевод. Шри Шрабхадева Госвами сказал: «О царь, по мнению некоторых знатоков вед, вокруг Джамбудвипы расположено 8 небольших островов. Они возникли, когда сыновья Махараджи Сагары в поисках пропавшего жертвенного коня перекопали всю землю. Эти 8 островов называются Сварнапрасха, Чандра Шукла, Авардана, Раманака, Мандара Харина, Панчаджания, Симхала и Ланка. В Шримад Бхагаватам достаточно часто можно встретить подобные странные поступки. Чтобы найти желаемое, была практически разрушена планета. А как воспринимать подобное поведение возвышенных личностей? Надо же разрешать, у вас там нет, да.
И это из базы, это как раз.
Ага. Да, да просто тут если переводить с русского на английский будет очень сильно, как это называется?
Сейчас я открою стих.
Порченный телефон, да, в оригинале прочитать.
Да, сейчас. Гурудев, I'm searching the English translation of this water. Just a moment. Так, всего так 5:19. Canto 5, chapter 19. And verse 29-30. So, and English. Okay. Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, "My dear king, in the opinion of the some learned scholars, 8 smaller islands surround Jambudvipa. When the sons of Maharaja Sagara were searching all over the world for their lost horse, they dug up the earth, and in this way 8 adjoining islands came into existence. The names of these islands are Swarna Prastha, Chandra Shula, Avardhana, Ramanaka, Mandara Karina, Panchajanya, Simhala, and Lanka." So you can translate the question.
The question is, in Srimad Bhagavatam, we often can see such weird actions. In order to find the object of desire, practically the whole planet was destroyed. How to estimate such behavior of elevated personalities?
Well, you have to we have to look longer. You can't just judge immediately. You have to see what they're doing. What is the purpose behind their actions? And we have to understand more carefully everything.
Нужно смотреть в общем на всю ситуацию, на всю картину, какую цель они при этом преследовали. Мы не можем вырывать из контекста и выносить какие-то оценки только по одному стиху.
Anyway, the sons of Maharaj Sagar, they had committed an offence, and so the result was they were burnt to ashes.
Тем не менее, сыновья Махараджи Сагары совершили оскорбление, и из-за этого были сожжены.
It says that the sons of Maharaj Sagar, they dug up the earth.
Они перекопали всю землю.
咁頭先個問題係問博家雅談裏邊呢，就有個古仔係講呢個沙迦嘅王，咁佢有好多仔女咧係被燒成灰燼。
Was it the sons of Sagar? They dug up the earth, right? They were searching for the horse. And they dug up.
咁點解會燒成灰燼呢？就因為佢係去咗揾個馬祭嘅馬俾人偷咗。
So she's asking why they dug up the earth, why they just had to make so many.
咁佢哋誤會咗呢，就係有個聖人呢，以為佢偷咗隻馬，其實係天帝 Indra 偷咗隻馬。 咁因為呢個冒犯，所以佢哋全部被燒成灰燼。
But those actions are sometimes performed by very elevated persons.
Yes. Well, the sons of Maharaj Sagar, they're not necessarily very elevated. They made a great offense because they thought Kapila had stolen the horse which their father was going to sacrifice. And so they had anger towards Lord Kapila. And because of their anger, they all got burned to ashes.
咁點解佢哋會燒成灰燼呢？因為佢哋嗰個靈性唔係好高漲，唔係好高超，佢哋以為嗰個聖人 Kapila 呢就係個偷馬賊，咁憤怒同埋對待唔好對待呢個 Kapila， 咁所以佢哋有個因果報應就係將佢哋自己去被燒成灰燼。
And so we're warned against offense against the Lord or His devotees. We're warned how dangerous it is. You must be very careful.
所以呢個故事呢，就係教訓我哋呢，去對待至尊主啊，去對待至尊主嘅奉獻者要好小心。一啲嘅冒犯呢，會帶嚟好大嘅災難。
But there was also the plan of the Lord, and that it was arranged to bring Mother Ganges down to earth. So this was part of the plan, that the descendants of Maharaj Saga, Maharaj Bhagirat, that he did tapasya and he was able to bring the Ganges down to earth so that these sons could all be liberated.
咁沙格王嘅6萬個仔呢，係被燒成灰燼之後呢，咁呢個係至尊主嘅逍遙時光嚟嘅其中一部分嚟嘅。咁後來呢，佢嘅後人呢，叫巴基拉塔呢，佢係做苦行呢，去將恒河帶落呢個地球呢，將佢哋嘅骨灰呢係淨化而贖罪嘅，將佢罪業清洗嘅。
Everything which is in Srimad Bhagavatam, must have some special significance, so we can understand that the importance of how we have to deal very carefully with the Lord and His devotees.
咁喺博伽談出現嘅故事同埋人物呢，都有佢嘅重要性嘅。咁呢個故事呢，就係教訓我哋呢，就一定要好小心呢，去同嗰個嘅至尊主同埋佢嘅奉獻者呢，係去相處啦，唔好作出冒犯呢。
Well, we also learn about how the Ganges came down to earth and how it's so powerful the waters could liberate all of these sons of Saga.
咁呢個故事亦都講到呢，係呢個恒河點樣去降臨呢個地球呢，係淨化所有人啦，包括呢係沙格王呢嗰啲嘅兒子嘅冒犯。
Okay. Any other question?
有冇其他問題呢？
What was the other question from last week?
上星期講有個問題嘅。
Так, вот следующее. Означает ли это, что любые действия допустимы для получения необходимых результатов?
Харе Кришна, это же уже получено на этот тоже вопрос. Махарадж предвидел.
Хорошо. Так, далее Галина Белоусова. Харе Кришна, Гуру Махарадж, все преданные, примите, пожалуйста, мои смиренные поклоны. Вопрос. Я слышала от одного из старших преданных, что в ведических писаниях сказан был приход Иисуса Христа. Где об этом написано? The question from Mataji Kalina. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, and all the devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. The question is, I heard from one of the senior devotees that in Vedic scriptures the coming of Jesus Christ was predicted. Where is to find this water?
Oh, I don't know offhand. I wouldn't be able to tell you where it's found offhand. But there is some mentions, I have heard it before, that it's mentioned somewhere in one of the Puranas that there would be an empowered person who could deliver the fallen souls.
Я слышал,
個問題呢就喺邊度有經典嘅描述關於耶穌基督嘅降世係救呢個世人呢？佢話我都唔知，我聽過話喺啲普拉納喺啲宇宙故事裏邊係可能係有咁嘅描述，但係我都唔係好清楚。
Yeah. What's the other question?
有冇其他問題呢？
Харе Кришна, в прошлый раз еще у Худини Матаджи какие-то вопросы оставались. Вы будете спрашивать?
Харе Кришна. Включалась. Примите, пожалуйста, мои поклоны. Гуру Махарадж, все преданные. У меня вот два вопроса. Один из прошлой, один сейчас. Я слушала лекцию Гуру Махараджа, там задавала вопрос, как ведет человек, который познает Кришну. Гуру Махарадж сказал, что этот человек, он внешне ничем не отличается, а внутренне он сконцентрирован на Кришне. И у меня вопрос, не могу понять немножко, почему вот все-таки сознающий Кришну человек внешне ничем не отличается. То есть он как будто бы остается такой же, как все. И вопрос, зачем человеку, который сознает Кришну, быть таким, как все? Может быть, почему он должен выглядеть как все? Вот такой вопрос.
While you were answering to a question of a devotee, так, еще раз, как там звучал вопрос, на который отвечал Махарадж?
Да, это тоже был мой вопрос. Как действует вот человек, как он...
Все.
Да.
Last time you were answering my question about what should be behavior of a Krishna conscious person, and you told that the difference is inside, but in his external image there is no difference between him and other people. So the question is, why is it so? Why should we look like other people? Why shouldn't we be different in our look?
Well, we have to live in the world. We have to live with all the other people. If you make yourself very different from them, then you'll be very difficult to live in the world. People will look at you that you're something that you're so different from them. So it will be very difficult to preach to them.
咁個問題咧就問有一次咧就係講到咧奉獻者咧佢哋嘅行為舉止咧要同其他嗰啲嘅人咧係要即係大家要和諧共處啊！咁點解咧？就係如果你唔咁做，咁你點樣可以向人傳教，同埋點樣可以等人哋有個榜樣
？Then that way you can influence them more towards Krishna consciousness.
咁奉獻者唔好太過超然啦，唔好太過即係走離開呢個世界，因為你咁樣，如果你係能夠同其他人有個交往嘅話咧，咁就容易傳教啲嘅。
Okay.
Спасибо большое. Можно еще один вопрос задать? На покору.
Да, конечно.
Спасибо. Как сегодняшний Гуру Махарадж сказал, что тот, кто вступил на путь преданного служения, он может постичь Кришну. А вот как понять, вступил человек преданный на путь преданного служения или еще не вступил?
Today you mentioned that one who has started the path of devotional service, he can understand Krishna. So how to understand whether I had stepped on this path or not yet?
Well, we have to understand how much you're attracted to chant Hare Krishna.
Судить нужно по тому, насколько вас привлекает воспевание Харе Кришна.
How much are you committed to Krishna consciousness?
Насколько вас привлекает, насколько вы заняты сознанием Кришны?
Are you serious about hearing the scriptures? Are you serious about associating with devotees?
咁個問題咧就問點知一個人喺靈性上有進步咧？就係話個答案就係睇下你對 Krishna 知覺個唱頌有幾吸引啦，有幾喜歡聯誼
Or
啦。
you just doing it maybe in a casual way just to pass the time, I have nothing else to do, so I just do it.
咁你唔好係好懶散咁樣去做呢個靈修咧，你要好認真。
Развлечение это просто стало вашей какой-то привычкой, которой вы заполняете в свободное время.
So the faith should be there. Some faith should be in associating and practicing. There should be some faith, commitment to the process.
所以我哋要有信念啦，喺由收集嗰度，要對呢個程序啊、呢個哲學有信念。
Yes.
Окей, следующий вопрос. Раджарани Матаджи.
Харе Кришна, Гуру Махарадж, Харе Кришна, преданные, примите мои поклоны. Смиренные, хотела задать вопрос не по этой лекции. Слушала лекцию Гуру Махараджа про каждый день явления Господа Чайтаньи, и там рассказывали про Адвайту Ачарью. Можете перевести?
My question is based on your lecture when you told about the appearance of Lord Chaitanya and mentioned Advaita Acharya.
И там мы сказали, чтобы приблизиться к Господу Чайтаньи, мы должны получить милость Адвайты Ачарьи. Вот вопрос, как получить милость Адвайты Ачарьи? Спасибо.
And then you told that in order to get closer to Lord Chaitanya, we first should get the mercy of Advaita Acharya. So the question is how to get mercy of Advaita Acharya.
Well, I don't think I said Advaita Acharya. I think I said get the mercy of Lord Nityananda.
個問題咧就係問，如果要得到蔡坦爺嘅恩慈咧，就要得到阿堆提恩慈。咁點樣得到阿堆提恩慈咧？
A little bit wrong. I don't remember I said that you have to get the mercy of Advaita Acharya. But I did say Advaita Acharya was responsible for bringing Lord Chaitanya into this world. He was the one who called to him and brought him to come.
咁我記得咧就唔係要得到阿堆提阿差爺嘅恩慈，應該得到 Nityananda 嘅恩慈嘅。但係點都好啦，阿堆提阿差爺佢係呼喚咧係主彩坦爺降臨呢個物質世界嘅。
И пришел Господь Чайтанья, то есть именно он способствовал вообще приходу Господа Чайтаньи.
But we approach Lord Chaitanya through the spiritual teacher. By the mercy of the spiritual teacher, then you can come to Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Nityananda, he is the original spiritual teacher.
咁我哋咧點樣先可以接近呢個主彩坦爺咧？就係透過咧靈性導師啊。咁而 Nityananda 咧就係最原始嘅靈性導師嚟嘅。
And Lord Nityananda is none different from Lord Balaram, and Lord Balaram is the original spiritual master.
Nityananda 同 Balaram 係無異無別嘅，咁所以咧佢哋都係原始嘅靈性導師嚟嘅。
а Господь Баларама является изначальным духовным учителем.
So you want to get the mercy of Lord Nityananda, you have to help him in his mission to serve Lord Chaitanya.
咁你要得到 Nityananda 嘅恩賜咧，你要幫助佢咧去服侍主菜攤爺喺佢使命裏邊。
Помогать ему в его миссии служения Господу Чайтанье.
Lord Nityananda was sent to go door to everyone, to ask them to chant Hare Krishna and to worship Krishna, to read the books about Krishna.
咁 Nityananda Babu 咧，佢咧就會去逐家逐戶去拍門啊，係要求咧係嗰啲居士咧係崇拜 Krishna 啦，係閱讀關於 Krishna 啦，同埋唱頌關於 Krishna。
So we want to get the mercy of Lord Nityananda. We have to take up that mission on his behalf. We have to also go door to everyone and beg them to chant Hare Krishna and to worship Krishna and to read the books about Krishna.
所以咧，我哋咧就要係取悅啊呢個 Nityananda 咧，就要好似佢咁樣去逐家逐戶拍門啦，係要求咧嗰啲居士咧係唱頌啦、崇拜啦、聆聽啦，係關於 Krishna 嘅。
Также ходя от двери к двери и прося людей воспевать Святое Имя и изучать книги.
Okay. Any other question there?
Преданные, еще вопросы?
Харе Кришна, дорогие преданные, по тому вопросу, на который Гуру Махарадж не дал ответ, там Бхавишья Пурана, 19 глава текста, по-моему, с 23.
He said that he sent a quota to chat regarding the question about Jesus Christ and where to find the prediction.
And somebody has given us the quote.
Yes.
Yes?
Так, а где это было? Что-то я видела, что вы прислали в чат, а сейчас не вижу почему-то это сообщение. А вот новые ответы. Бхавишья Пурана, глава 19. It is Bhavishya Purana, chapter 19.
Okay. Bhavishya Purana.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Спасибо.
Харе Кришна, преданные, еще есть у кого-то вопросы? Ому 8 с Гуру Махарадж.
No more questions? Okay, so then we'll stop here today. Okay, we thank Madhurya Lila for translation and thank the devotees for participation. So today's Ekadasi here. Are you having Ekadasi there today?
Yes.
Okay, so have a nice Ekadasi. See you next week. Hare Krishna.
Харе Кришна, всем любим вас, Гуру Махарадж. С Богом была презенция Сургурши Прабхупада.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Джай.
Okay. Hare Bol. Hare Krishna.